in the universe is the one who has forgiven first.
The bravest man in the universe.
I got a story I want to tell. Gather around me. Gather around me, boys and girls. I once was lost, but now I'm found. When I beat her up so high, I always know how to come down. The bravest man in the universe is the one who has forgiven first. Yeah, 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 yeah. Shame on me. Shame on you. It's up to us on what we say and what we do. When you stay in the sun, when you stay in the sun much too long, you try to find a shade, shade that make you feel home. The bravest man in the universe is the one who can forgive the other one first. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jamie. Hope you enjoyed that solo performance. And I would just like to start off with introducing myself and speaking a bit about how I got to this point and some of the initiatives and focuses I want to do as a performer as well as a producer. Let me just catch my breath. So, I entitled this piece, The Bravest Man in the Universe, because I was really inspired by the title track of Bobby Womack's newest album, and I'm a big fan of his work. But the main focus of it is that I started off as a young boy in Brooklyn, New York, growing up in the projects where there wasn't a great deal of opportunity for young people to have the option to get into the arts, to be performers, to just have a say generally on what they aspire to be or what they want to do. when I first started, all I wanted to do was be an ice skater. An ice skater, glitz, glamour, being able to showcase yourself and show your light and show your enjoyment as a performer. And that's quickly changed when I had the opportunity to take a few skating lessons. My mom gave me the opportunity to be a part of a program, but I was terrified of it. I was like, I'm quiet, I'm shy, I'm scared of this ice. It's not gonna work. But luckily, there was a great opportunity that came along in the early 90s with the Eliot Feld Ballet Tech program, which was an inner-city program that Eliot Feld decided to start up by going around to urban neighborhoods and inner-city schools and auditioning people, auditioning young dancers, auditioning kids who had gymnastic training, kids who had flexibility, who had the urge to perform. And I was one of them. I was shy, I was quiet, as I said before, but I knew there was a way that I could actually express my voice, and I realized it was through dance and performance. I would be picked up on my yellow school bus, brought over to Manhattan Union Square, take classes throughout the morning, and then return back to school in the afternoon. Not too sure how I graduated elementary school because I was in dance class most of the time, but I realized that working with a company with such a great name and such a great background really enabled me to hone and sharpen my skills as a dancer. I think we need so many more programs like that. It was a really difficult time. Sometimes I would be called down on the loudspeaker, Jamie, come take your ballet classes, the bus is waiting for you. And that was just not cool. Like, nobody wants to hear that. Some days, I mean, there was a day or two I didn't want to go, so I just sat in my math class until I had to get called down. But I realized after that situation, my parents just told me, you know what, you have to be brave. You have to really understand why you're doing this. It's because you realize that you have restrictions in certain areas in terms of speaking, in terms of communicating, and you need to find your way that you can communicate. So I was lucky enough to be a part of that program for almost 5 years, and then I moved on to go to LaGuardia High School and SUNY Purchase, which was a real milestone for me simply because coming from the background that I did, financially it was impossible for me to go to any of these private schools. But I knew that SUNY Purchase did have a great dance program. So how was I gonna get the money for it? Let's see. I was in school. I wasn't the top of the class. I wasn't the best dancer there was, but I knew that I had the possibility and the capabilities of growing. So every summer, about 2 summers in a row, I actually volunteered in the Alumni Association office at LaGuardia High School. Slaving, taking mail to the post office, appraising artwork from old alumni, coordinating and making sure that our alumni reunions were coming about quite smoothly. And I didn't particularly like it, but I learned so much about it. And finally, when I graduated, there's one person who's given the Eiger Dance Scholarship. It's a 4-year dance scholarship, which pretty much puts you through college. I didn't see myself as the person who would get it, and I didn't. I didn't get the scholarship, and I knew that wasn't gonna happen. I knew it was gonna happen. But I volunteered once again. I kept not trying to get a scholarship, but I wanted to help. I wanted to learn. And lo and behold, after I graduated, they just called me in for a meeting. They invited me out to lunch, and they said, you know, we rarely do this, but we're going to give you the opportunity to go to the school that you really want to. And I was granted the Eiger 4-year dance scholarship, which I was elated about and very proud of because it wasn't so much based on the talent that everyone else saw as the greatest, but is the work that I did behind the scenes and the way that I wanted to help and put myself out there for on the administrative side, not only as a dancer. LaGuardia was great. I went to Purchase, And Purchase really allowed me to understand the scope of performance. They had great dancers, great choreographers coming there. They had great people to speak to and feed off of. And that's when I got my niche to travel. I was like, I can't stay in Brooklyn. I can't stay in New York all my life, simply because I see what's out there. And there was a young girl who was in my class who had a phenomenal dance company in Japan who always offered people the opportunity to come to Japan to do Bluebird variations and Sleeping Beauty and Cinderella. I wasn't asked because I was quiet and I loved to perform, but that interaction never really happened. So finally, I just went up to her one summer. I was like, what's about that program you got going on in Japan? She said, well, it's still going. We have 2 people already. I never really thought of asking you because you didn't seem interested. I said, I actually am really interested. It's just that we never had the opportunity to speak about it and for me to express my interest. Lo and behold, about 2 weeks later, both guys dropped out. Their parents wouldn't allow them to go to Japan, and my parents were like, gone. So I hopped on that flight. I learned the sequence in about a week and a half. One of the dancers flew from Japan. We rehearsed together, and it was such a success. Like, they really understood how dedicated I was to this project, to making the company look the best that they possibly can. So we had that opportunity. And when I came back to New York, I was like, this actually works. I shouldn't be afraid of actually speaking to people, being brave, expressing how much interest I have in performing. And I just started asking around, speaking to Helen Pickett, who was from the Foresight Company, and as well as Tracy Inman, who was part of the Ailey Company, who actually knew the same person, Francesca Harper, who was putting together a project, and it was going to the Holland Dance Festival. I expressed to both of them my interest in traveling and performing, and it just so happened they both knew her, and my name got brought up, and she spoke to me, and she called me. All of this to say, for young people, because I was a young dancer who wasn't too sure about how I was supposed to approach people. Was it only supposed to be about my talent? No, I was supposed to express interest and really be passionate about what I want to do and be honest about it. So I had the opportunity to go to the Holland Dance Festival with Francesca Harper, one of the best choreographers, so open, so warm, and she taught me a great deal. After working with Francesca Harper, there was loads of opportunities that came about. I was able to travel to Mexico and Israel. And the funny thing about Israel is that I was on the tour bus rolling up to my hotel. I knew there was a great company there, Cedar Lake Contemporary Ballet, and one of their dancers had just premiered in the Beyonce Single Ladies video. I hopped off the bus, she came out the hotel, and I was like, oh my gosh, Ebony, you're amazing. You were just like phenomenal in the video. And the artistic director, who I didn't know who he was, I just knew that I loved the company, actually came up to her and said, who is this guy? He seems so interested in your work, and he seems like he's a very passionate person about dance. We had dinner, I expressed my interest, and it only happened because I was open enough. And I think young people should be really open to expressing that they are fans of others, they are fans of people's work, they are intrigued with what others are doing. And that kind of transpired in me dancing with the company. I'm currently studying creative producing at Central School of Speech and Drama, and my sole initiative is to create programs where students, and especially young kids from disadvantaged backgrounds and demographics, can have the opportunity not only to study outside of school. As a producer, I don't want them to study outside of school. I want them to have a program from when they're quite young. I started when I was 8, have a program where they can actually study really clear, basic, and important structures when it comes to music, when it comes to theater, and especially dance. So it can foster, they can hone, sharpen, and create their individuality and their knowledge for performance. And at the moment, I've been able to work with some great producers and some great companies, and this is what I am venturing out to do, and this is what I want to conquer here in London, abroad, and everywhere for all students, similar to myself, can have a voice and can start off and conquer all of the things that they've always wanted to do, and that they can be brave enough to approach it.